If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Non This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Non This Business Bites. I'm Ben, and this is Syya. And here's a question for you. Is your brand still relevant? And how do you know? Now, let me tell you a story. About 13 years ago, my brand was CMYK Solutions. Now, CMYK is cyan, yellow, magenta, and black, the four colors that make up all printing. Okay, at the time when I started this and incorporated as CMYK Solutions, digital wasn't digital, social wasn't social, the world was very different. And therefore, the brand was, hey, with these four colors, anything is possible. The problem is, all of a sudden, we start getting into the world of social media. We start getting into the world of digital. We start getting into this. Everybody says, oh, you're a printer. No, I'm not a printer. We're a consulting company that blah, 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 whatever it was. And the problem was nobody was taking me seriously. Everybody was talking to me. It says, oh, well, CMYK Solutions, you must be a printer. You must be old school. You must be in direct mail. You must be in something along those lines. And therefore, why should we take you seriously in terms of communication consulting? And I went, okay, this makes sense. You know, what started out as a great name 10 years earlier no longer was relevant. And I went, what do I do? So I rebranded the company. And I went through an entire rebranding process. And I did some of the work myself. And I brought in a buddy of mine who is a branding expert himself. And we rebranded, reskinned the company. And we built a brand new website, a brand new logo, new color scheme, new everything, and created a great big launch. And it was really well received and business went up. Because I had a new story to tell. I had a relevant story to tell. I had a story where people were sitting there going, wait a second here. Okay, I get what he does. I understand how he can help me. Let's do business. So we all need to sit there and realize the brand that we started with. And I'm not talking about your logo. I'm talking about who you are, essence as a company, how people think about you when you're not in the room. Is it still relevant? Is it still resonating with the people you want it to resonate with? Is the people who've never heard of you get what you do and understand why you're valuable to them? And if not, now is the time to start thinking about a radical rebrand. So, Syya, let's talk about this. Let's non this.
Let us, shall we? So I think is I love your story because what we all start out with what we think is catchy or what we
Mm-hmm.
think makes sense or we think would resonate doesn't. And I think that's the joy of being agile and being open and being honest with yourself to know that, hey, I got to pivot. I've got to change. I mean, just listening to your story makes me think, I'm like, son of a sea cook. Like, how do I want to? Do I need to rebrand? Do I need to reevaluate and relook at Brilliant Beam Media? And for me, I'm listening to what you're saying, and it's funny. I've only been around that Brilliant Beam Media has only been around since 2023, so it's only
Right.
a few, 3 years old now, and it's not even 3 years old. Wait, it's 23, 24, 25. Wait, 23. Yeah, so it is 3 years old.
2 to 3
Okay.
years old. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I've already changed up the logo look and feel like in 2024 and a half. Like in that year and a
Right.
half mark, I realized I didn't like the original look and feel as much. When I first launched it, I loved it. It was like this gorgeous silhouette. It was human-esque, more feminine, but it just looked neat, right? And then I flipped it to a more, I would say, neutral, more
Mm-hmm.
corporate vibe. And it was interesting because a lot of the creatives were attracted to that original, but a lot of the corporate clients I was working with resonated more with the corporate logo. And I literally,
Right.
you're making me think of like, okay, who is my target audience? Who am I really
Hmm.
wanting to work with, enjoy working with, et cetera, et cetera. So is it working for you? That's a great question. I would love to see anyone that's listening. Have you gone through this exercise yourself? And here's the other thing. I think people, and I do the same mistake. Logo is not necessarily the same thing as, your brand identity, right? And I think it can reflect it like Nike swoosh, right? But
It's an avatar.
it's an avatar. And I think that's the other thing because I think, and I've been like talking to some other clients, like you don't have your company name as necessarily your logo always. Like I
Hmm.
have BBM, but yeah, it's oh my God. Like so we can go in so many directions on this. Okay. So my first thought when you first asked me, is your brand still relevant? The way you know is based on how active your community of your current clients are talking about you, right? And
Hmm.
like you say, what are they saying when you're not in the room? And as you know, I've been having this fun little vanity project with this K-pop band YouTube channel, and I'm learning a hell of a lot, but I'm taking a lot of these lessons from this random industry that you wouldn't think, but there's so many corporate applications that actually will resonate that I think this question is perfect. I don't think brands, organizations, marketing agencies, PR, etc., are in fully sync if they haven't embraced the social media side of their branding, if that makes sense.
Right.
I'm
And
gonna be
and I
selfish
and
when
I
I
would
say
say,
this.
yeah, and I would say that we need to go back three steps. And you mentioned this, but you didn't go into the meat and the detail. The difference between your brand and your logo.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that we need to sit there and look at them as two separate entities. The avatar, the logo is how people visually see you on a billboard somewhere, whether that's a digital billboard, whether that's social media, whether that's an actual physical billboard on the side of the road, whether it's a advertisement, whatever. It's the visual representation of who you are. They see that Nike swoosh, they see the golden arches, they see the whatever the logo it is, and the three line stripes, and they sit there and go, "Ah, okay, that's Adidas, Nike, or that's McDonald's." And then
Hmm.
they sit there and say, what's the visceral feeling I have when looking at that logo? And that visceral feeling that they get is their alignment to the brand. And whether that's a B2B brand or whether it's a retail brand or a direct to consumer brand, you're going to have different levels attached to it. But we are able as branding experts to change up a logo a lot more easily than we are to change up a brand. We can sit there and say, okay, I'm going to modernize the brand. No, people are not modernizing the brand. What they're doing is they're modernizing the brand elements, which is could be the logo, it could be the color scheme, could be this. And what it's doing is it's giving a refresh and a new look of what represents the brand, but the essence of the brand of who you are, what you do, why you do it, and why people care about you is something completely different. And that's the stool that you stand on. And if you knock down the leg on that, that's when you start falling over. But changing the look and feel of a logo is not the same as changing the essence of what your brand is. It's
You know,
it's it's re-representing the brand in a different way visually.
it's funny. You got me thinking about like, fast food, right? Like
Yep.
they're constantly rebranding and remarketing. And it reminds me of McDonald's. I'll pick on McDonald's, where someone actually had a meme of like McDonald's in the 80s versus McDonald's now. And I find
Hmm.
it fascinating because McDonald's in the 80s, we had our playground. There was like a big old burger, and you climbed into it and there's a slide going down. It was like heavy on the actual food items, right? It was literally French fry, a burger, and all that, and then all the characters that were around it, right? Very bright and colorful, a lot of yellow, browns, and reds because those were the
Hmm.
food colors, right? Right. To
Exactly.
do appetite. And then now, if you look at today, it's like gray, salt,
Yes.
like very stark buildings, very industrial looking with a big M, right? And that's it. And I find it fascinating because though it's modernized, right? It is of the modern era of looking contemporary to our time period, if that makes sense. It's lost all personality. And
Very true.
not
Yes.
only is that loss of personality, there are articles I'm reading where Gen Z and Gen A are rejecting fast food. So it doesn't surprise me if you go to fast food and it looks like a freaking prison cafeteria, ain't no one gonna like like I already have school food. I'll just get eat school food. Why would I want to leave campus, go to McDonald's, right? So I am picking on McDonald's, and I will say that's a perfect example of, can a brand still have its brand power? Everyone recognizes the Golden Arches, but is it still pulling in the same sentiment, the same buying power it used to? I'm going to argue in 2026, no. No, it does not.
No.
And this is there. This is, are they struggling to be relevant? I think they're gonna have to do some serious reconsiderations of the marketing right now because it's fast food has definitely got a bad rap, right? Not
Well,
healthy.
let's pick on McDonald's even further. You take a look at the buildings where they used to have. You used to walk into the building, it used to feel inviting, the chairs. Now it's 90% of the people that come to the store have already ordered on the app, and all they're doing is they're looking for their number. They grab their number and they walk out the door. There's no affiliation with the brand. It's somewhere quick and cheap to buy food. It could might as well be Burger King. It might as well be Wendy's. It might as well be something else. It's just somewhere to get cheap burger and fries.
Oh my
And
gosh.
therefore, there isn't that same differentiation. There isn't that same pull. There isn't that same what we become slaves to an app because we can get cheaper food if we order on the app. Because if you
Yep.
do that, you don't have to have somebody who greets you and somebody who takes your order and somebody who says please and thank you and somebody who does anything that. It's just number 27, and then you pick up and you walk away, and there isn't that same affiliation and connection to the brand.
I
And
mean,
when we don't connect to the brand, we become commodities
yep.
and we become easily replaced and we become soon forgotten.
I'm telling you, that's just one step away of fully automating the McDonald's.
Absolutely.
100%. I mean, you can see the writing on the wall on that. And that's the other thing. Okay, so okay, maybe they lean in. Okay, let me say, let's pretend I'm McDonald's. I'm a joker. I'm the clown. I've been called many things in life, Ben. It's okay. I saw that. I saw that face. You're like, "What?" Yeah, I am a clown. Um okay, let's argue. I'm McDonald's. We know what we are. We're fast food. End of. We are convenience. We are not a quote experience. Our value add is food, lowest time from ordering to receiving it, maintain the quality of the processed food that we put together, right? And that's it.
Okay.
And they accept it.
But it used to
Maybe,
be an experience.
but again, experience doesn't necessarily always equate to profits. It might do increased
Absolutely.
revenue, but it doesn't mean that it's profitable, right? So I'm going to
Hmm.
argue as McDonald's, you know what? Yeah, we are shifting it to the future where it'd be fully automated. There's no one in the building. Like, okay, if that's what it is, that's what it is. Own it, lean into it, and that becomes your branding, right? So maybe instead of Ronald McDonald, the clown, it's Ronald McRobot, you know?
Ronald McRobot. I was thinking about that too. It's just the golden robot.
So I'm not besmirching that McDonald's is going automated, okay, or trying to optimize their output with minimum overhead. Just understand you are going to be what you are, right? Lean in and own it that you are going to be considered the automated lifeless brand where, you're just one step away from what's my favorite movie? They Live, like it's like, you know, oh, Soylent Green, right? Like,
Hmm.
if you want to be one level away from, and by the way, if you know that reference, you owed if you know that reference. But yeah, that's so if it's
Well,
relevant, I'm trying to like answer in a way where we're not bashing.
No.
But I do think there's some very critical things of which we have to balance into consideration.
But as your brand evolves, and we're both agreeing that the McDonald's brand has evolved over the years. There's no question about it, the brand has evolved. And you as an organization need to see when your brand evolves and be able to re-own that. And to sit there and say, okay, where are we today? Where do we want to become? How do we make that cross that chasm for our guests? How do we enable our guests to cross that chasm with us? And how do we regain our relevancy? And how do we retain our market share based on the fact that it says, okay, we're going to a point where we realize 95% of the people or 85% of the people order with an app, don't talk to a human being, are just waiting for their number to come on board. They're looking for the fastest, cheapest way to just get something to eat, to grab and go. How do we rebrand ourselves to speak to this next generation that wants that without becoming irrelevant to the people that have been loyal fans for 30, 40, 50 years. So it's not an easy thing to do. And unfortunately, that we're getting into a completely different conversation and we got to land this plane.
Yeah.
But I think we need to sit there as brands and realize, okay, has our brand fundamentally changed? Has our clientele fundamentally changed? How we engage our clientele, has that fundamentally changed? Okay, what does that mean to us? What does that mean to them? How do we rebrand in order to maintain that relevance? And I
Hmm.
think that that's really where we have to leave things, because if we don't, we could go on this forever.
I think this is going to be our brand new 20 Twix. We're just going to answer every one question that you sent. That's like our next episode. Because
I,
seriously, there's so much meat in there. And with technology just enabling it, I think the answer is going to evolve too. What we think
I
is going to be
agree.
the answer today is going to be different tomorrow because our expectations evolve. So, okay, okay, okay. I agree.
So
Let me
let's
plan.
stop right there. I'm Ben,
I'm Sia.
and we'll see you soon.
Hey, hey, hey! Thanks for listening to another episode of Not on This Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. If you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at IamBenBaker.com or me at BrilliantBeanMedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. See you next week for another episode of Not on This Business Bites.